Hello all and welcome to the Rails Board meeting. This is Friday, July 22nd, 2022. I am Thomas Stagg, President of the Rails Board, and I call this meeting to order at 1:00 p.m. Jody, will you please call roll?
Monica Caldecott. Here. Rosie Margot.
Here.
Alice Creason.
Here.
Juanita Harrell.
Here.
Robin Hellenthal. Diane Hollister. Here. Renee Leva.
Here.
Jennifer McIntosh.
Here.
Julie Melvin.
Here.
Becky Bradford.
Here.
Tom Stagg.
Here.
Beth Peppin.
Here.
Alex Francina.
Here.
Vanessa Villarreal.
Villarreal. Here.
Karen Wojtek.
Here.
Gail Form.
Thank you, Jody. On to recognitions of guests and announcements. Since we have an in-person quorum, we do not need to do roll call for every vote. We will handle guests and public comments at the same time. Let's start with guests here in Burr Ridge. Deidre.
Deirdre Brennan, Rails.
Monica Harris, Rails.
Jody Rubel Rails.
Sharon Swanson, Rails. Ann Slaughter, Rails.
Ryan Apple Rails.
Okay, that takes care of that. Are there any public comments in Burr Ridge?
Why does East Bay area look so creepy?
Nope.
Okay.
There's Karen.
On to the State Library. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen Egan from the State Library. No
Any
public comments.
from the State Library? Okay, thank you, Karen. We don't have anyone in East Peoria, so Jody, will you call the names of guests via Zoom?
Via Zoom, we have Joe Philippek and Stacy Palmisano. If there's Leland Heath and Mark Hatch.
Okay, was there any public comments from any of the Zoom participants? Is there anything in the chat?
No comment in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's that time of year again to get the, have the new members take the oath of office. If the newly elected board members could stand and recite the oath of office.
Oh, yes, I do.
We just got hers.
Together.
Together, yeah, together.
I do
I do
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of a member of the Board of Directors of the Reaching Across Illinois Library System according to the best of my ability. Excellent.
All right. Thank you and welcome to the Rails Board. We're looking forward to working with you all. So that now on to the election of officers. The slate of officers recommended by the nominating committee is as follows. Alex Vancina, President. Jennifer McIntosh, Vice President. Diane Hollister, Secretary. And Karen Wojtek, Treasurer. Floor is open to any nominations. Okay, if there are no other nominations, may I have a motion for approval of the state of officers as presented?
This is Becky. I move that we do that.
Okay, Becky, thank you.
Alice Creason, second.
Alice, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is approved.
Awesome.
All right.
Now you're
Alex.
done. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Would you like to say a few words?
Oh, it's been a great experience. I've learned a heck of a lot this last semester, especially through that strategic planning thing. That was very worthwhile and long ordeal. No, it really wasn't an ordeal. It was fun. So, and the consultants you guys got were
They were tremendous.
They were great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
They were really good. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Thank
been
you,
a good
Monica.
year, and so yes. So
No doubt.
thank you.
And I just want to thank the nominating committee too, and especially Alice, who was chair of the nominating committee, because you had, there were some challenges there too, but it all worked out great. So thank you, Alice. Thank you to Sue Busenbarg, Angela Campbell, Bobby Mock, and Charm Runke. So. Okay.
All right, thank you, Tom. We'll move on to the consent agenda. You will notice that the consent agenda items include minutes from our June meeting. It is generally agreed by legal counsel that no one needs to abstain from approving minutes if your fellow board members who were in attendance at those meetings raise no objections to the minutes. Does anyone wish to move any item on the consent agenda to the regular agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved, Karen.
Karen, thank you.
Second, Julie.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right. Jody,
Do we need a roll call here?
No,
that's right.
we don't need any roll calls
Okay.
because we're meeting in person.
Thank you.
Very good. All right.
Right.
Next is Sharon Swanson with the
Yep.
financial report.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
okay.
yeah, I was about to say, I think we do because there's disbursements.
Yes, that's true. You're right. Thank you, Jody. The other thing I just want to make, after you approved it, now we're taking it apart, but it includes the board meeting calendar. I just might want to make sure everybody takes a good look at that. Okay, and there's no problems with it. It doesn't need to be revised in any way. I don't know why this got put on the consent agenda, actually. This is something we generally discuss, but
I thought we got it last month, right? to
you
look over?
did, but you
Yeah.
didn't vote on it.
Right, but I know
Didn't
I
have-
checked.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So I know I'm good. I entered them all.
And we, this, obviously, if something comes up, we can change it. This. Okay, so you need a roll call.
All right. Jody, roll call,
Okay,
please.
Matt Alback,
Yes.
Rosie Camargo,
Yes.
Alice Friesen,
Yes.
Juanita Harrell,
Oh, is she there?
Juanita, can you unmute?
Yes.
Thank you. Diane Hollister,
Yes.
Renee Leba,
Yes.
Jennifer McIntosh,
Yes.
Julie Novak,
Yes.
Bradford,
Yes.
Thomas Stannard,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Vanessa Valerio,
Yes.
Karen Whitehead,
Yes.
Alex Menzino.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now on to financial.
Well, I'll try to speak up from over here on the side of the room, but if anyone can't hear me, just holler. So, good afternoon, everyone. You will find the preliminary unaudited financial reports for the month of June in your packet. We will continue to record additional general fund expenditures through this month, but these are not expected to be significant enough to move us into a deficit of revenues over expenditures. We are implementing a new accounting standard covering three of our three building leases, which will result in a non-monetary, in a couple of non-monetary entries to the general fund to capitalize those leases. But it will not affect us in any monetary way whatsoever. The June 30th unassigned general fund cash and investment balance of 21 million would fund approximately 20.2 months of operations. Revenues through June of just over 12.4 million were approximately $118,000 above budget. And this was mostly due to unbudgeted L2 grant revenues, specialized cataloging, support grant revenues, and the FEMA grant revenues that we received during the year. Investment income was $60,190 through June, which was almost double the amount budgeted for the entire year. In February, of course, I mentioned during orientation, but the money market rates rose above the 0.14% rate we had budgeted due to the Federal Reserve's actions to raise interest rates aggressively to combat inflation. And of course, they continue to make historic increases in interest rates. We are expected to have another 0.75% increase at their meeting this month, which is historic. I think the last time they did it was 1993 at that, or 1994 at that amount. Their expected goal for total interest by the end of the calendar year is now 3.4%, which is much more aggressive than it was.
Sharon?
We're getting reports online that you're very hard to hear.
Do you want to come stand here?
Yeah, why don't you come?
Yeah,
closer?
Yeah, go. just
Thanks,
start with-
Ryan.
Okay. So, and after an $11,280 increase during the month of May, the fair market value of Rails's series of treasury notes decreased by $14,299 during the month of June due to these rising interest rates that I just mentioned. And these notes will gradually increase to their face value of $3,890,000 as they approach their maturities. And the first of these 4 maturities will occur at the end of this month. Expenditures through June of a little over $12.3 million were approximately $496,000 below budget. Nearly all major cost categories were under the budgeted amounts, with the exceptions of supplies, postage and printing expenditures, personnel, library materials, and vehicle expenditures. And the majority of the under budget amounts were due to contractual services expenditures that were under budget from lower cataloging grant awards. Unfortunately, we saved $108,000 because we did not award as many as we had budgeted for. Lower than budgeted hosting fees for the Biblioboard group purchase. We saved $92,000 on our platform fees. And lower usage of the Find More Illinois incentives to join. Unfortunately, we only spent $500 of the $30,000 that was budgeted. Professional.
Why is that? Sorry to interrupt.
Because
I
we
can answer
struck a
that.
new deal,
Yeah,
right?
We had budgeted to provide incentives out of our own budget.
Mhm.
And then after that, it was a couple months into the fiscal year that the vendor offered their incentive program that I described earlier.
I
today. So
see.
they're
Okay.
covering all of that.
Okay.
And professional services expenditures were under budget due to not having yet incurred the budgeted expenses for the Rails website redesign, which was budgeted at $50,000, as well as the bulk of the expenditures for specialized cataloging projects that was covered under that grant from the Illinois State Library. That, as I mentioned during orientation, has been extended into fiscal year 23. And Rails has placed a deposit with Atten, the vendor for the website redesign, as of June 30th.
So it'll come out of this year, not next year. I mean, not last year.
It's for work that will happen this next year, so it'll come out of this next year still.
Right.
But the cash came out this year.
Right.
3 additional servers that were budgeted in fiscal year 22 were purchased at the end of June, as well as a perpetual license for the Rails email listserv. Delivery department expenditures through June of over $3.84 million. We're just over $36,000 above budget. Nearly all cost categories were under budget with delivery, with the exception of personnel and vehicle expenditures. So fuel costs have recently begun to decrease due to the tax holiday that we all know about. I don't know how long that tax holiday will continue, but we have been granted a temporary tax holiday. So those have decreased. Vehicle repairs and maintenance have increased during the past several months, mostly due to the aging of the fleet. And we've been trying to overhaul the vehicles to make them stretch just a little bit longer, because there's an industry-wide, as we all know, vehicle shortage right now. So we are in the process of trying to overhaul some of them to make them last a little bit longer. We had budgeted for a $480,000 deficit in the general fund, but we will be ending the year without incurring the deficit due to some of the cost-cutting measures mentioned above and deferring some expenses. And I think that pretty much covers what I had. Does anyone have any questions?
I
Yes.
have a question. Under, you said equipment rental, repair and maintenance expenditures. We're below budget because lower than budgeted costs from Zoom expenditures. Does- I was confused. Zoom expenditures goes into equipment rental, repair and maintenance?
It does, because from what I understand, we had purchased some equipment on the back end to run Zoom off of.
Yeah, when we transitioned our phone system to using Zoom, we purchased new phone hardware.
So then that, but the hardware that you purchased would go under there, but wouldn't the actual Zoom expenditure go under what, software? Wouldn't it go under software supplies? Why is it under?
So because it's running off of the equipment, the way that the chart of accounts is structured, because we have uniform guidelines for our chart of accounts and how things are structured and how things are charged from the
Okay.
state library. The way it's structured, that's why we classified it under that account.
Okay, it just seemed
It's running
kind
off of-
of odd, but okay. And I have a question about, and the check voucher register. This is, I just want to know what it is. I
Sure.
don't, it's Hinsdale Bank and Trust. It says analysis fee for May 2022. What were they analyzing?
Oh, so we get a fee
Mhm.
of 11% of our balance. The way our account is set up, we get charged on the balance that we have. And then we get charged a monthly amount and an annual amount for our lockbox, because we do have a lockbox where all of our payments go for internal control purposes. So we're not handling payments in-house, and to lower the insurance rates because we're not handling payments in-house as well. So it's for that, as well as any ACHs that we make. We do make ACHs regularly to our retirement plan vendor. So a demission squared, and also transfer, well, IMRF is handled through them solely. We initiate it through them. So that's not something that we do. And we do do an annual wire transfer to one of our vendors as well that is out of the country.
Oh, okay.
And it's related to group purchases.
Just wondering.
So it's to cover all of those fees.
Thank
And
you.
we do earn interest as well on our money market account that offsets the analysis fees.
Oh, it does.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. All right, moving on to reports. I have no report this time. The committee reports were emailed to the board on Wednesday. Are there any questions about the committee reports? All right, if not, next, Deirdre on the Rails report.
Sure, thanks, Alex. So just a little background about the reports. We do, I do write a report every month. We also have which is, as I say in the beginning of my written report, which is basically things that I'm focused on. And then we have this month at Rails, which is obviously about Rails in general. It includes, let me see if after I told you about those talking points, are they in here this month?
They're there.
Yep.
Yeah.
They on the first page. Yes, there they are, the top three. So the first page of the monthly report of this month at Rails, these are the three things that we provide for you. I guess there's four. One, two, no, there's three. Okay. Find More Illinois, which we've talked about that, and the EDI learning cohort, and then the Rails Back to School Fest to help school libraries as they welcome the kids back in the fall, or in August, actually.
Can I ask a question about that? It says more details when registration coming soon. Do we know when? Because I'm going to forward it to a couple school librarians I know. It just said it's,
2 to 4 p.m. I saw.
yeah, but how do they register? It said registration details coming soon. You're
I
going to
don't
get a
know.
separate email?
I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just saw it maybe on social media,
okay.
but didn't.
We'll find out.
Yeah, because I know people, I can forward it to
Sure.
someone who can
Yeah.
forward it to other people.
Yep.
They definitely would be interested.
Okay, great. You have the consortia reports attached. They provide quarterly reports for us, and we always forward them to the board meeting because they provide a lot of information about
what's going on in the different consortia. And, it does represent a number of libraries as well as a chunk of our budget. So we think it's important that you know what's going on there. I also just wanted to note that it was Karen who pointed out, how many acronyms did you count, Karen?
I can't remember, like
It
there
was
was over 80.
Was it over 80? I thought it was over
Yeah.
30. 80 is even worse. So it is an acronym heavy field, as those of us who work in it know. We will provide you with a glossary. I kind of winced this morning every time I heard one, but there's no way around, if you were going to say the consortium of academic and research libraries in Illinois every time, and instead of Carly, we would still be doing the the PowerPoint. So anyway, but we will provide a glossary, and I do apologize for that, although we do kind of, like I said, do it to ourselves. I also did want to be sure that you know that we won two Rails and Rails staffer have won two prestigious ILA awards. Joe Philippek was selected as trustee of the year. In addition to his day job, he was also a member of the the ILA board until most recently, but he is also the president of the Aurora Public Library District Board. And so we're very happy for him, and you'll notice he's not here. He doesn't like the attention, but way to go, Joe. He's listening, I hope. We also Rails was awarded the Robert R. Mclaren Award, which we're very proud of because that is an advocacy award. And one of the things that we think that's most important that we do is advocate for our members. So.
And didn't they say it was the first time a group got that award instead of an individual?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So
I'll just throw two other things. The first, I don't know, first time, but it's great when the Illinois Librarian of the Year is a school librarian.
that was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Rhonda
Yes.
Jenkins from Indian Prairie 204 is Librarian of the Year. And then also so thrilled that I think there's 4 or 5
Yeah,
high school
kids
students
from Downers.
Grove
That was
won
exciting.
an Intellectual Freedom Award for their standing up against book challenges.
Yeah, really wonderful.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome. I love it when you can tell that a group has looked widely
Yes,
for people who are making a difference.
I had the same feeling. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And Rails is happy to support board members going to ILA, registration, etc. So if you weren't going anyway, if your library doesn't pay for you, we're happy to. So hope to see you there for the celebration. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but those were the main things I wanted to say. Any questions?
I'm not sure exactly where this question fits in, but I had a question that my library director wanted me to ask, and
Sure.
it kind of fits in there. Governor Pritzker had signed a law into effect. The Decennial Committee on Local Government Efficiency Act.
Yeah.
And she asked that Rails maybe have some training soon on how it needs to be handled and what the heck it is.
Yes, this is, yeah.
Got that same request yesterday.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yes. Thank you, Karen. And thanks to Jenny too, Jenny Mills. Yeah, we know, and we've been talking to our attorneys about this. So
Is coming.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're working on it.
Thank
Do you want to say any more?
Well, Beth Duttlinger at the Lily M.
Oh, right.
Evans Library also brought it to my attention on our visit yesterday. And as she mentioned, it's about a year out until those changes need to happen, or 18 months total. But there's a lot of prep that has to go into that, including helping to understand all of the pieces that are involved. So I think Rails can definitely, provide some support there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Regarding the Back to School Fest, it is August 17th and it's from 2:30 to 4 p.m.
Right, but how do you register?
Okay. And
Because it's going to be online, right?
Find it on L2 and.
On L2.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks, Jody.
thank you.
Also on chat, Rosie had a question about registering for ILA. As a trustee, would they request that through?
They should go through Joe, I think, or
Okay.
Emily, or both.
And maybe to Emily first.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
she can
Emily
coordinate.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, Rosie.
Any other questions for Deirdre? If not, next we have the Illinois State Library report. Karen?
Hi, thank you. Thank you. And I have to say, Dee, I just looked through my notes really quickly to make sure I didn't have any acronyms.
Okay. Well, and good for you if you don't, right?
I don't, thank goodness. Well, I have to tell you, it has been an exciting week here. We have been busy this week awarding $26.8 million in grants to libraries and literacy programs across the week. So I hope some of you listening have received some of those award letters. This includes adult, family, and literacy programs. Of course, the library system funding, the Illinois Library Delivery System. You're welcome. The radio information services and Project Next Generation grants. We used a mix of federal funding and state funding to do these grants. We are also finalizing the awards for what will be the last distributions from the $50 million Public Library Construction Act grant program. Eligible libraries had until June 30th to demonstrate moving forward to meet their match requirement. So we are just finalizing who will receive the awards on those. And finally, we are looking forward to reading the system annual reports. Those are due September 30th. Other than that, does anybody have any questions? All right, well, I'm going to hang out here if you do, but thank you for inviting me to be here today.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, now on to new business and board committee assignments. So for trustees or board members, if you have an interest in serving on any of the committees, please send an email to me or Deirdre. In the packets you received this morning, you will find a description of all the committees. So if you have an interest in participating on one of those, please let me know, and we'll be getting that finalized as soon as possible. Any questions or discussion about that?
Alex, is there a need to have board members evenly divided among the committees? Like if all of us say we want to be on the cool committee, is that okay? Or will you tell us no and then ask us to spread it out?
I will have the task of sorting that out.
Okay.
So
all right.
Work with you all to try to make sure that we.
Is there a cool committee?
I don't know.
Wait,
I haven't
maybe
served on any, so.
I should ask, is there an uncool committee? Right? So,
Well, do we know if there's a specific area that we need more membership? Is
well, we
that-
have no policy committee except for Juanita at this point, and you, who are the chairperson.
What? It's listed.
Because you're the vice. Because you're the vice.
Because you're the vice president. It's on the top of the agenda. Why would you tell me that? Well, okay.
That's
Can't
right.
say anything more about committees. We're all good.
Don't worry about it.
all good.
That's usually a very popular committee.
That's the cool committee.
Yeah.
Jennifer's in charge. It's cool.
All right, so please take some time to think about that and can discuss further offline. Please send me an email at the end of the All right. Moving on to the organizational chart and compensation structure for fiscal year 2023. Deirdre, or
I think
Monica,
Monica's
sorry.
going to handle this. Yep.
Hi, everybody. So in your packet, you should have a copy of an updated organizational chart and pay grade assignment, as well as a memo that details what changes were there. So anytime there's a change to either chart, we bring it to the board for your approval, just to detail the changes that appear within this. And all of these changes are, of course, per the fiscal year 2023 budget that was already approved by the board. That just another note, just for your awareness, on the organizational chart, anybody that has 2 lines around their name has supervisory duties, but the chart does have space limitations, so it's not strictly hierarchical. So there are sometimes people who are listed below each other, who, for instance, don't report to the person who's directly above them. It's just a space limitation issue. So the proposed changes to the Rails organizational chart and pay grade assignments are the additions of the digital communications specialist position that we talked about this morning that would focus primarily on digital media and marketing. They would report to Mary Witt, the Director of Marketing and Communications. The addition of the consortial services supervisor, which you also heard about from Ann a little bit this morning, who will report to Ann Slaughter, Director of Technology Services. And then the addition of the data research specialist, Jeanette Durucki, who you met this morning, who will report to Grant Halter, data analysis manager. And then there's also a change to the compensation chart. And that was because we did make some changes to our HR department back in January, as you recall, where our HR manager, Sam Daly, was raised to the position of HR manager. At that point, we did have to redistribute some of the duties that are happening within our HR department. And because of that, we updated the job description for our HR coordinator to reflect the current responsibilities that she now has, and then ask HR Source to evaluate that position based on that change in duties. So because of that, that position was changed from pay grade 4 to pay grade 6, which is the change that you'll see here in the compensation chart. Are there any questions about any of those changes or anything else regarding the organizational chart or the compensation chart?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. May I have a motion for the approval of the revision to the organizational chart compensation structure for fiscal year 2023 as presented?
So moved, Monica.
Monica, thank you.
Diane, second.
Diane, thank you. Do we need a roll call for this? Finance?
No, you already approved the budget. It's just part of the budget.
All right. In that case, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, we have election of at-large members to the executive committee. The executive committee meets on an as-needed basis. In the past few years, they have met regarding board vacancies or to have in-depth budget discussions. And this year, they will serve as the search committee, working with an executive search firm for our next executive director. I would like Tom Stagg to be elected to the at-large position so that we may take advantage of his experience as our past president. May I have a motion and a second to appoint Tom Stagg to the Rails Executive?
This is Becky. I move that we elect Tom to the executive committee.
Thank you. Thank you.
Julie, I'll second.
Thank you. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have 9.4 disposal of surplus properties. Ann?
Thanks, Alex. So as stated in the memo that's in your packet, we have some surplus laptops that we no longer need. In the last fiscal year, we replaced all of our staff laptops. At that point, when we do that, which happens roughly every 4 years or so, we go through our internal process of checking all of them. You know, that's kind of a lengthy process of taking back the old equipment, giving everyone the new equipment. We check over all of them and replace them internally. We have several laptop labs across our locations that have, you know, the previous the laptops from the previous replacement cycle. So, you know, we kind of bump them down, and this list that you see is the result of doing that work. So we've basically refreshed all of the laptops in production for Rail staff and for member labs that it gets used for training. At that point, the laptops themselves are completely wiped of all software, including the operating system. So at this point, they are just plastic and metal and all the other terrible chemicals. So we are asking that you approve the donation of these laptops to an organization called PCs for People that is working with the Illinois Office of Broadband, which is a part of the, let me see if I'm gonna, the DCEO, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity out of the governor's office. As a part of the Connect Illinois initiative, they professionally refurbish laptops physically and you know, set them up with the operating system and the needed software, and then redistribute those to people, free to people who are in need. So we would like to take advantage of the opportunity to address the digital divide in this way, and donate them to Pieces for People. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for Ann? Okay, if not, may I have a motion and a second to approve the disposal of the surplus property?
I'll move, Tom.
Tom, thank you.
I'll second Vanessa.
Vanessa, thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, let's take a short.
Alex?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, we had a couple questions from Rosie online,
In the chat, okay.
and I think it would be best if Karen answered, which, do you want to say what the question, or Rosie, do you want to ask the question yourself?
Sure, I can. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is there official news on Jesse White and the filling a board trustee empty seat? Like, is there like official? Because I know he also announced his retirement, so that kind of tiny little panic attack. So it's like, is there something official since it affects all libraries, you know, and how that would go about?
Hi, Rosie. This is Karen Egan from the State Library. That follows the Secretary of State. So even though Jesse White is leaving, it will go into the office of the next Secretary of State. And what's happening is at this moment, we are finalizing the process with the Secretary of State's General Counsel. And as soon as that is done and vetted through legal, we will get that announced to the library community. But we want to make sure that is vetted through legal before we move that forward with any kind of public announcement.
Thank you.
Sure, sure. So don't worry, just because Secretary White's retiring, it will move forward.
Right, thank you. So next we have unfinished business. Does anyone have any unfinished business? All right, hearing none. We are on to Rails board member reports. This is the time that board members can share information about events or programs in their library. Does anyone have anything they would like to share at this time? Karen?
The Shorewood Troy Library won the Readers Advisory Service
They did.
Award.
Yeah.
Proud of them. They do a great job.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Becky?
It's not up on the Rails board yet, but the LaGrange Public Library will have an opening for executive director. Our executive director is moving to New York State.
Oh,
She will now be the head of the Schenectady Library. So we're
Wow.
very excited for her, for that opportunity to be closer to family. We're sad to see her go. We've hired Bradbury Miller to run the search. They did the search for her about 5 years ago. So if you know anybody who wants to be director of a very well-funded but small library that's about to start its strategic plan, please, you can bring any questions to me or tell them to keep an eye on the Rails job board. It should be up any day because we approved them to do it at the beginning of the month. So look for that. But if you have questions or anyone has questions, they can email me. Thank you.
All right.
It's a good job. We pay well.
Any other reports?
The College of DuPage, we got approval from our board last night to hire, we have a new librarian, a new position starting full-time faculty for the special focus on leading our open educational resources.
Yay!
Excited about bringing in Lauren Cosgrove, who's been at Triton College for many years. So
That's
it's
great.
really a good opportunity for us to have a dedicated person on staff who can be leading that work strategically.
And I love that it's full-time.
Yeah, I know, right?
You
Yeah.
know, academic places seem to thrive on part-time, so.
I know, well, that been like a split. You met my colleague Denise, and that was part of her assignment for the last few years. So
Okay.
we're replacing her and adding this new position. So
Okay.
recognition.
That's great.
Yeah.
Such an important
Yeah.
project. Yeah.
All right. Any other reports? All right. We are on to 12, meeting recap and agenda building for the next Rails board meeting. The next board meeting will be August 26th at 1 p.m. And we will discuss the needs for committee positions and have a draft of the annual report. Is there anything else that needs to be added to the agenda for August?
I think I will bring a resolution to the board in August related to open educational resources. Actually, there was a discussion at Public Safety Committee yesterday about a statement that is on the CARLI, the Consortium of Academic and Research Libraries in Illinois website that is, supportive of the need for open educational resources, and they're looking for endorsement, they're looking for support, advocacy support for that because the publishers are fighting back against it and charging kids a fee. Were you at public policy?
No.
Okay. Anyway, I think I'll be bringing that next month. The executive committee is meeting next week to look over the search firm proposals. They were due yesterday. I think we have 5. So probably be talking about that at the board meeting too. Don't you think, Alex? We need to get going on this. We
Yeah.
said we were going to get it posted by August 15th. So,
As we will have an update from the executive committee.
yeah. So I'm thinking that the executive committee is going to pick the proposal, or is the board going to pick the proposal?
I believe when we discussed this last month, the board will review the proposals and bring one back to the board for
Is the
approval.
executive,
Would that mean
the
we would have to
executive
wait?
committee would review and then bring one, recommend one? Okay.
Right.
Unless we can't wait that long, do we need to get a
That's-
contract signed? I'm not sure of the timing.
Because I think the motion allowed the executive committee
To pick one?
to pick one.
Okay. 'Cause otherwise, we're gonna lose a month.
Yeah, I recall we voted on that last meeting. I don't recall the wording, but provided that the board did delegate that authority to the executive committee, I think we can make a selection.
Okay, we'll clarify that for you all, send the info out. I mean, if we have to lose time because we didn't do it right, that's the way it goes, but we'll figure that out. And we have a new executive committee, so I mean, anyway, okay, so I just wanted to bring that up so that people were
Yeah,
aware
very
of
good
the,
point.
yeah.
Anything else for the August agenda? All right, we do have need of a closed session today. The board will move into a closed session to discuss matters pertaining to personnel as per 5 Illinois compiled statutes, chapter 120, paragraph 2, section C1, which states exceptions. A public body may hold closed meetings to consider the following subjects. 2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. May I have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved, Alice.
Alice, thank you.
Second, Karen.
Karen, thank you. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No?
We need a roll call.
Oh, we had to go into closed
Need a
session.
roll call, yeah.
Do.
Okay.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody. Roll call, please.
Diane Hollister. Renee Leba,
Yes.
Jennifer McIntosh,
Yes.
Julie Melovic,
Yes.
Becky Spradford.
Yes.
Tom Stick,
Yes.
Beth Peppin,
Yes.
Vanessa Villarreal,
Villarreal, yes. Yeah, it's just Villarreal.
Villarreal.
Yeah, like,
I'm
yeah.
trying.
No, you're good, you're good.
Karen Whitehead,
Yes.
Monica Chalfant,
Yes.
Just keep
Lily
telling her.
Margot.
Yes.
Alice Friesen,
Yes.
Juanita Harrell,
She said
you're
yes.
muted. And Alex Mancia.
Yes. We have no actions to follow up on from closed session, so we can move on to adjournment. Thank you all for attending, and I adjourn this meeting at 2:17 PM.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.